So, but man, listen, I don't want to waste too much time on us because we have a very, very, very special guest in the house.
Yes.
And I want to say, man, as soon as I hit Atlanta, I heard about this cat.
Yeah.
I was not hip at all. I was hearing the name. Well, because he was going by two different names at the time. There was it was apartment Q2 something. He'll explain that one. So I was like, what? I was like, why is it's like, oh man, his real name Jeff Sipe, man, but he goes by
I never knew his first name.
Apartment 250. I was like, what the where can I go check this cat? Where can I go check him out? Plays in this group called the Aquarium, another name, Aquarium Rescue. It's like Aquarium Rescue. I was like, who are these? Where is these cats? What are they doing? Yeah, then they play with this cat, Colonel Bruce. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm trying to think of the first time I saw those cats. But it was literally it was a game changer.
Yeah.
They got this cat on bass, but another name, right? O'Teal. I'm like, where do you get these names from, man? And then I felt good because then they said the guitar player's name is Jimmy. I was like, oh God, thank God. No. Okay, now I get it. Okay, got one normal cat, But then, man, the keyboard player name is Kofi. I'm like, man, what?
And so, you found out they're brothers.
But completely blew my mind because they were in the I don't care category. We've talked about that. Like, I don't care. This is what we do. This is what we are here to do. And you are going to either get it or you don't. So, without further ado, we're going to bring in our guest. He's a 4-time Grammy nominee. He's a graduate of Berklee College of Music and the Shenandoah Conservatory of Music. He's been recording, touring, and teaching professionally since 1982. Now, my brother, drum guru, Jeff Sipe.
Yes, sir.
Apartment Q250. I can never read. I know it's 2 something, Jeff. 2 something, man.
Yeah. Tyrone, how's it going, man?
What's up, Sipe?
It's true. I was Sipe to so many people, and I was Apartment Q something, Barbecue 258.
Apartment Q 250. Is that a Bruce that Bruce had to give? Was that something Bruce gave you, man? Or
absolutely. Just about everybody who worked with Bruce Hampton got a moniker or a nickname because it was his contention that nobody really is who they say they are anyway. Wow. So he's gonna, to watch you for a while, and it took him a long time. It took him like two years or something to get mine. We were on our way up to Knoxville, and I'm driving. He's in the passenger seat, and the light bulb goes off, and he goes, "That's it. That's who you are. You're the apartment. You're Apartment Q258." I was like, "What does that mean?" But he introduced me that night, and then every night after that, and it just stuck.
Funny Bruce story for me was when he met. His whole thing was he could guess your sign and basically your birthday. At least get yours. He got my wife.
Did he get you?
Right.
So, but Bruce, he was a day off from me. He did say October. He said, "You're a Libra." He knew that right off the bat.
Interesting.
You're a Libra. Yeah. And your birthday is October 18th. It's like, what? I was like, it's the 17th. But he got my wife right on the head.
Wow.
Yeah.
August 22nd. Bam.
I knew him for 34 years by the time he had passed. And I'd witnessed hundreds of these incidents that were too weird to explain.
You can't explain them. People ask me about Bruce, and I'd say, man, there's something to the cat. That's all I can tell you. Let's go a little bit further or back than that. I want to get to that, Jeff. But talk just a little bit, man, about your upbringing, where you're from, when you started playing drums, and just give us a little overview of your beginnings.
All right, I'll make it kind of condensed. I was born in Berlin, Germany, to American parents who worked for the government, and so my older brother, younger sister, and I, born pretty close together, were born in Berlin. I was about 2 years old when we moved to Vietnam, Saigon, and that was crazy, crazy times to be in Saigon. And so things got too hairy, and the government airlifted us to Bangkok, Thailand. And we lived there until I was 8. Then I came to the States for 2 years. I was 4th and 5th grade, and then back to Germany for Frankfurt. Lived in Frankfurt and went to junior high school there. And that's where I joined the school band and started playing drums. And it started at 11. I was 11 years old when I started playing. I go to high school in Fairfax, Virginia, and went to Berkeley right after that. When I was 18, I went up to Berkeley in Boston. And I was there for 6 years, but I only attended the school for 1 year. But during that time, I was surrounded by so many incredible players. There was Kevin Eubanks.
Oh, wow.
Baron Brown and I played in the band with Steve Vai. Steve was 17 and I was 18.
Wow.
And our group was called Winter. And it was kind of a big band. It was a hybrid, strange thing. But there was Bill Frisell. There was Mike Stern. There was Branford and Jeff Tain.
Yeah.
Watts was there. Tiger Okoshi. So many, man. So many players. But for a young man trying to get this stuff together, still new, to a lot of it. Boston's a hard place to make a living and try to find a band, Mm-hmm. So I went to Atlanta, 1983. My good friend Dan Matrazo, keyboard player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And so he knew I was frustrated in Boston. He said, come on down to Atlanta. There's plenty of work. You'll find work right away. So I went down and stayed with him for a couple of weeks. The second night I was in town, he took me to a club, and there was Vance Taylor, Simon Carter,
wow.
Dan Hofflinger, and those guys had a group, and they were just losing their drummer. I sat in with them. They said, hey, you got the gig if you want it.
Wow.
So I went back up to Boston, packed up everything, and drove back down, and started my new life in 1983. I was 24 years old. And then the year after that, I met Bruce Hampton. And it was a strange. Remember Dan Wall, the keep?
Yeah,
incredible, right?
Yeah.
He hired me for a wedding, and I hadn't met Bruce yet. So I said, yes, of course. Any chance to play with Dan? So it's in North Georgia, Dahlonega or someplace, in the mountains. So I set up. I'm there early. Bob Lee comes in on bass. Nice to meet you, Bob. And then Bruce arrives last, and he's dressed in his everybody else had, it was a wedding, so we're all dressed kind of nice, Bruce comes in a T-shirt, kind of mustard stains, and a pair of shorts. He just sits, with his legs shaking, and we start the music, and we're playing sophisticated, smooth jazz, real appropriate for the wedding. And Dan looks over at Bruce and gives him the nod. Go ahead and take a solo. Bruce turns all the way up and starts playing random notes, just just noise, right? And Bruce had his eyes closed and he's digging in all this random stuff. My first thought was, how audacious! You could have ruined this thing for everybody.
Right.
But Dan loved it, man, and he was reharmonizing. Bruce would play some random notes, and he'd try to chase them, fit them into the chord somehow.
Right.
But that was their game.
Right.
It's so great to see. And so the next day I got a call from Bruce, went down to sit in with him at the Harvest Moon. And there was 18 people on stage. She had some symphony players. She had Bill Hatcher and Randy Honey.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're improvising. And about the third song into it, I had so much fun. It was so free. I looked at Randy. I said, man, I think I found my calling. And he looked at me and said, I think you have too. And we went through about 15 configurations before it became Aquarium Rescue Unit.
Man.
Yeah, how did y'all arrive at that name, Aquarium Rescue Unit, and how did that get started?
Yeah, good question. That is, Bruce Hampton was a poet, and that was a line in one of his poems.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Aquarium Rescue Unit. I love the name.
Yeah.
And it suits you guys too, because how else would you describe that music? I mean, you can't put it into a category. You can't say, it's this. You can't really say it's that. But when I think of you guys, it's somehow that kind of just fits the narrative of what you guys were doing somehow, some crazy way. I don't know.
Crazy is the word. That's it. Crazy name, crazy band, crazy music.
There's a lot of responsibility in freedom. People think that free is just right. It's not that, man. You have to. It's harder.
You gotta listen.
It's all these different things that you negotiate, and you do it night after night. It could be taxing, and you could,
takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, and you have to have the right people. Can you talk about that a little bit, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. When I met Bruce, he was 37 or 38. I said earlier, he gave us more freedom than he probably, should have allowed. But that gave us such trust in each other and ourselves that we could go someplace and Oteil had my back.
Right.
Right.
And he would go somewhere and I would just slip right underneath it.
Man.
And just kind of, hit him once in a while and
right.
buoy him up.
Man, that's beautiful, man. I hadn't taken any of those chances myself as an artist. So to watch you cats do that, I was like, man, how is this possible? And then they would all come back together at some point, that was always mesmerizing to myself.
Tyrone, you said negotiating with your fellow musicians and you're doing that in the nanosecond.
Right.
You're playing and one note might lead you over here.
Right.
One rhythm might, put you in a different place. And the willingness to join together happily in that new place and not judge it. There was no judgment.
Do you ever try to recapture moments or fight the urge to recapture moments that, say, you played a gig last night and y'all had this very nice thing that developed and say, okay, let's do it again? Or do you just say, let's leave it alone and explore?
Absolutely. When you're playing with a band 300 days a year,
right?
The arrangements are writing themselves night by night. Somebody will do something and everybody's like, oh man, that was awesome, and you just hope they do it again.
Right.
And if they get, some positive feedback, they take that and they mutate it and they change it up a little bit. And it's just moving from week to week. From month to month, it's a different kind of arrangement because we were playing that often. Bruce would come in and change things up. I think when Bruce looked at us and thought we were just a little bit too musical, he would destroy it. He would destroy it. Wow. So it was his job. Our job was to put him up on a silver platter, and then he would just destroy it, and we had put him back up on another silver platter.
You jump off that bad boy.
You would. Like a kid just walking through your blocks. You set up this nice castle box. He just walks right through it.
Right.
He would walk through my drum set in the middle of a song, just right through it, and it was like Moses parting the sea. Floor time here, ride cymbal over there, and then I have to go get it and put it back together.
Man, I swear, when I was enthralled by Kofi, I don't know if a lot of people know how bad that cat was. Crazy.
You're right, exactly right, man. I met Kofi in '87, I think, and he came over to the house. It was a group that we were trying to get off the ground as a top 40 band called Knee Deep with Dan Hofflinger and Sam Geff. Yeah. And we heard about these two brothers who were moving to town. And so they came over, they joined the band. I remember the first time we got together in my living room. And we were just going for it, playing all these. We got into this 1-5-8 thing. And they started writing this melody. And the tune was it just came out like a perfect tune. Wow. With a B section that moved and it came back to the 5-8 thing and everybody hit it. And it was like, man, I've never played with cats on this level, and with this intuition. And the brothers were like one mind.
Right.
Yeah. And Kofi, every time I was in the studio with Kofi, which was quite a lot, all of his solos, without exception, were first take.
Talk a little bit about the incarnation of ARU. How you guys? I know you just said Kofi and Oteil came over. You guys found each other first. How did you guys find Jimmy Herring, and how did that sort of all kind of come together?
And Jimmy came up to introduce himself. He said, "Hi, I'm Jimmy. I play guitar, and I would love to play sometime." And I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And he said, "Nothing." He came over to the house, and he started playing. I just fell in love with it. We've been friends ever since. So I had a band called Mystificus, and it was Kofi, Oteil, Jimmy, and Charlie Williams, and we were playing original fusion stuff in my garage. And one day, Oteil comes in, he throws his bass down, he goes, "Man, I'm so tired of this top 40 scene around here." I said, "Well, come on, we're playing the point, little 5 points. Come on down. I'm playing with Bruce, and we just do what we want to play. We play, we just have fun, you'll have fun." So, okay, we drive up. I bring Oteil to the gig in my Nova. I got a 16.9 Nova. It's all haunched up. And it was a great bad car for a 25-year-old. It was all
right.
And in the trunk was the SVT bass cabinet.
Oh,
those trunks were big, man. We put the whole SVT bass cabinet in there. We're taking it out and loading into the front door, little 5 points. And Bruce comes walking up. I said, "Hey, Bruce, I want to introduce you to O." And I couldn't even say his full name before Bruce guessed his birthday, August 24th, right to the year.
Wow.
And it turns out that 4 of Bruce's bass players in his bands have all been August 24th.
Wow.
Kind of auspicious,
Very strange.
And so we played that gig. And then I told him, Jimmy Herring is a great guitar player. Maybe we should have him sit in. And Bruce agreed. So I brought Oteil and I brought Jimmy to the group. And then I brought Jeff Mosier, the banjo player. And then Jeff Mosier found Matt Mundy up in Cumming, Georgia, playing bluegrass with his family. So he came down and sat in at the Point. We were playing every Tuesday night by then at the Point. And it was electric.
I remember, and I don't know if you even remember this, you were doing like a clinic masterclass kind of thing. The things you were talking about to the students was the influence of like tabla music, like Indian tabla music. Yeah. And I thought that was really profound that, as accomplished as you were still learning and still developing things about your playing. And I was really impressed by that because you had gone away for a while. I think you went to Asheville. I can't remember. And then you came back and, man, you had tightened up a lot of stuff in your playing. And I remember, I think I asked you, it's like, man, what have you been doing? You I identified something I wanted to work on or needed to work on in my playing, and you totally worked on it. It was great.
Oh, yeah. I came in late to groove music. I was an experimental guy, jazz, kind of, even, some ECM kind of stuff. When I hit Atlanta, Vance tightened me up quite a bit. It's all about the 2 and 4. All this other stuff is great, but you gotta nail that 2 and 4, man. So he was a huge help. And then a friend of mine told me once after a gig, said, "Sipe, you have good rhythm, but you don't have good time." And I could tell he was being frustrated, not being able to play all of his ideas because I was getting in the way or something, not holding it, together. So I made sure that I would never get that comment again. So I went into my practice room, and I've always been like 5 hours a day minimum. I always love practicing. So I got the Franz metronome. I had a light on it. You could turn the sound off.
Right.
Old wooden thing. I put it on a stool in front of the drum. The lights off, and zeroed it in on the pulse. And I looked away after 2 bars, and I was off. And it was a revelation. It was like, I thought I was better than this, So it occurred to me that I was robbing the space between the notes. I wasn't given the note length its full value. So by the end of the bar, I was ahead. So, okay, how do you fix that? Well, you can practice your whole life with a metronome trying to chase it and still never take 100% responsibility for the time. Only when you move that pulse to another subdivision in the group, then you're the only one playing one, and the metronome is answering you. So I put it on the E, and I would play 1 and a 2 and a tick, tick, tick. You know, the metronome's on the E.
Right.
And if I made that sound good, then I understood the full length of the first note, because my perception of it was that I was just robbing the space between the notes. And if you do that between the first two notes, then you're way ahead by the second bar or something. You're way ahead of everybody. And then I got turned on. Jonas Hellborg, bass player who played with John McLaughlin in Mahavishnu. The second Mahavishnu was with Bill Evans, Jim Beard, rest in peace, and Jonas Hellborg was on bass. So he hit me to this T-high, and what a T-high is in Indian classical music is a rhythm that you play 3 times, either with no gaps or with various gaps between those phrases. But the last note of the third phrase is the 1. So a simple one would be takadimi-ta, takadimi-ta, takadimi-ta. Takadimi-ta is the phrase, played 3 times, separated by 1 beat of silence. Takadimi-ta, takadimi-ta, takadimi-ta. So the last note is the beginning. So I just love that whole, the beginning is the end is the beginning. It's
Right.
And it's like a harmonic turnaround in the West. You might have a 2-5-1 to bring it back home.
Right.
You have a rhythm in Indian music to bring it back home. And the first one I learned was this one. So on the hand, let me get there it is. Here's my pointer, the thumb. So I'll point to this knuckle, and then this knuckle, and then the tip of the finger. And you end up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Right on your hands there.
Oh, wow.
And so this one he taught me was 3 groups of 5. No, it's 4 groups of 5, but they reduce. So you have 5 quarter notes, then 5 dotted eighths, then 5 eighths, then 5 sixteenths.
Wow.
And then it resolves right before the 1. So this is the first one I learned is 1, 2, ready, go. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, da. So, right?
Yeah.
Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, doom. Da, di, ge, na, da. I can't play.
That's good.
But that was cool. That just opened up my whole world. Now check this one out. This is cool. My tabla friend from India, Moyok Bhaumak, great tabla player. He hipped me to this counting method that you can apply to these T-highs. And it's visual and it's right there. You don't have to keep it in your head. You can actually see it and count along with it. So if you're doing 3 groups of 11, you start here and end up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Because 3 11s are 33, so it gives you the 32 beats you need here, plus the extra one for the downbeat.
Wow.
So if you want to do 5 with 2 gaps, you're here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow.
You want to do 5 with 1 gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 with no gap.
Always in there.
Right? Yeah, it's just a matter of where you have to start in the right place to end up in the right place.
Right.
So you might have like a 4-bar phrase, right?
Right.
And then you would know how much time you have to keep before you start the series.
See, we had a question that ties into Jonas. Henry Brent asked, "Are you still in touch with Jonas Hellborg? Great player, great guy. Met him in NYC a long time ago."
Yeah, we talk a couple times a year. Lately, he hasn't been doing much playing out. He says he's in the middle of Sweden in a forest with his girlfriend and his cat, and he plays just for fun.
Wow. Well, man, talk a little bit more about the importance of, when you found that moment of getting your time together. But there's more and more gigs where guys are having to play to a click track.
Oh yeah.
And so the click is sort of, you don't have to the click is there for you. You're not really having to internalize and come up with that sort of natural heartbeat. And then they get thrown on a gig with no click and they're lost. And what would be your advice, man, to some of those guys that are kind of going through that, and talk a little bit about that?
Well, you come to trust yourself more when you have some success. So those times when you're practicing and it's there, absorb that feeling, trust yourself that you can do it, and realize that playing with a click is daunting for everybody. If you're Steve Gadd, you're still challenged. Steve Jordan said it. It's a daunting task to play perfectly with a click track. So what you do is take a deep breath and you try your hardest. You're a human,
Right.
But in a live situation, somebody might be excited and they're leaning ahead. Maybe by the end of a 10-minute jam, you're 10 clicks faster than you started. That's all right. It's all right if everybody moves together and it's a musical situation. It's okay. And don't beat yourself up. I say to people, don't beat yourself up. Just get serious. Turn that click on and make it a friend. You make it a friend by putting it on a different beat in the grouping. So even if you're playing in like a triplet, you don't put it on 1, put it on 2, or put it on 3.
Woo!
And that's a hard one to hear. The middle of the triplet is the weakest beat.
Man.
And if you make it the most important beat, it's like a hiccup. There's no ground. There's no
right.
But if you can play a shuffle around it, you just play boom, you put the click on the second note, and learn that feeling, and then it becomes second nature. And then it's like, okay, this is the feeling I need for that.
Right.
Man, you mentioned Jeff Tane Watts, because Kenny Kirkland is probably still my favorite piano player. So I wore out any of the Branford quartet with those guys. I thought that was like his best group, where Tane, Kenny Kirkland and Branford and those cats were together.
Robert Hurst.
Thanks. I always say the Garrison Hurst. Robert Hurst. But anyways, right. So, but I used to marvel at the way Tane would divide up that dotted quarter note and make it sound like that was the swing beat, right? He'd be like,
oh yeah.
He's like dang, dang, dang. He's like clang, clang, ka-clang, clang, ka-clang, right? Yeah. But I really thought about, it wasn't until I started really listening to Afro-Cuban music that you had to be aware of all the meters at the same time. It
goes back to Africa, man. The 12/8 variations of those bell patterns.
Right.
Yeah, that's the beginning of everything, and then it mutated as it went across the globe.
Can you tell our listeners what's the difference between being a recording musician and a performing musician? Is there a difference in your mind?
It depends on what the performance is live. There are situations you got to pretend you're in the studio with the in-ear monitors and playing to a percussion track or something. That's
right.
That's about that's like studio live. Right. But if you're not doing that, that what I found is that recordings magnify everything in your playing. So your dynamics will be more revealed, your accuracy will be more revealed, and and your touch. You know, in the studio, you can be, I think, much more dynamic. You don't have to hit as hard. And the dynamic range that you can explore in the studio works. It can work. But if you try to be too dynamic live, it doesn't work a lot of the time. You have to kind of compress it a little bit, because those ghost notes are not going to be heard if you're in an arena.
Right.
Doubles, forget about it. It's all singles, you know.
Right. Well, one thing I wanted to bring up was we had Kebby Williams on.
Love Kebby.
And he brought up something that was really interesting to us, where he talked a lot about rejection when he goes into, you know, X situation or Y situation, and they just don't know that they can't hear it. So I know, you know, I have a feeling that you have some stories about, you know, some similar things, and I wanted you to just sort of maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, appropriateness, right? Well, how do you take a genius like Kebby and put him in a situation where he's not allowed to do that? You know, it doesn't make sense. I think everybody's got to kind of come to their own internal crossroads. Like, what do you want out of music? What is your relationship with music? Is it business? Is it professional? Is it experimental? How much freedom do you allow yourself, or how much freedom do you cut yourself off from? I've worked with really creative people, so there's that chance for me to really express a lot more than I could on like a safe kind of a gig, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my relationship with music to be more about connecting with the mysterious and the divine. So you have to, for me, a balance of mystery and playing in and playing out, you know, because in really sounds a lot more in if you just did something slightly out. and the other way around too, right?
Right, like exactly.
Out doesn't make any sense unless it's compared to in.
I remember first time hearing, I think it was Rocket Love or one of those Stevie Wonder songs, and right before the key change, the strings did the key change first. And when I heard that, it was like this bit of like uneasiness, and then
yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what was that? I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
I was like, I rewinded it, and I was like, what is I that feeling to that little uneasiness, and then just like being dropped out of a plane and the parachute catches you, you know, that kind of thing.
That's thrilling.
I want to ask a question. You have a book out, and oh, good. Just show us a copy of it. And so, with all the drums paraphernalia out there and books and stuff, why this?
Okay. Well, I've been writing and transcribing since I was 17. The first real successful attempt was when I was in high school, and John McLaughlin released his second Shakti album, A Handful of Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it on, and there's this rhythmic dialogue between Zakir Hussain and Vinny Akaram, the clay pop player and the tabla player. We're doing you know, just incredible. So it was too fast for me to understand, so I turned the speed down to 16, the half speed.
Right.
And then I went, you know, I figured it out. I looked at it. It was like, okay, this is how you can do it. And then I just kept on doing stuff. And over the years, I have crates full of stuff, you know. And then I got this app right before the pandemic. I was gifted a iPad, and there was a $10 app called I Write Music. And it's great for drum notation as well, because it gives you all the lines and all the symbols that you need to assign it to, and it was very intuitive. It's not like Finale or Sibelius, where you have to really study this stuff before you can get anything done. This you can get right into and get stuff done right away. And so I started doing that, and it looked so clean compared to my, handwritten stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, I just keep doing this, and I'll probably have enough for a book. And I've been lucky enough to have played with and received advice from some brilliant musicians along the way. So those little pearls and those little gems, I remembered. And those are the things that helped me along my path.
I'm gonna definitely get a copy because
I'll send you one.
No, I'm buying it. I'm buying it. But I noticed a hole in my playing. I got called for this. It's actually a funny story too. Got called for this gig, play keyboard too at the Fox Theater for a Broadway show, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, right? And there was it was intense because there were these dots in the music, and it was a Kurzweil keyboard, and everything was pre-programmed, the sounds. And all you do is hit a pedal, and it advances the sound. So you'll be reading the line, it'll say fiddle, and then the next measure, it'll be bassoon, whatever, right? So we get to the frenetic part of right before intermission is supposed to be the avalanche scene, if you know anything about Seven Brides or Seven Brothers. Man, I'm just immersed in the thing. All through rehearsal, I never knew there was a gun on stage because I'm looking at the thing, right? So right before the song ends, I hear boom really loud, right? I jump on the floor. I was like, they're shooting in the Fox Theater, right?
Oh,
I'm the only brother in the band. I look at Sam Skelton. And Sam Skelton is shaking his head while he's playing clarinet like this, right? Then I realize it's part of the whole show. We hit the last note right before intermission, and everybody dies laughing. I was like, man. But
they shooting in the
Fox. Shooting. I was like, don't y'all see? Y'all gonna get killed. The biggest thing is I remember is that those guys, I'm not a bad reader. I'm a good reader. But reading on that level, there was a hole in my playing, right? Especially when it came to rhythms. And I had such a good ear that if I heard it one time or two times, I'm like, okay, I know what it is. But I called up a friend of mine, Justin Varnes, who's a drummer. I was like, dude, I need to take lessons. And he brought out a bunch of drum books and stuff like that. So needless to say, that's going to be very educational for me because I love stuff like that. I ask Chris all the time about his concept of how he think about things. It's just being part of the rhythm section, you need to understand some rhythm,
Right.
Well, that's interesting because when you talk about concept, Jeff, I feel like you have a concept. That's what all I feel like that's what we all are on the path to try to find. What is our thing? What's your sort of advice for finding your own concept and being able to stick to it?
Right. I think, fundamentally, we're all supposed to be ourselves. We're different flowers, and we're supposed to be different flowers. We're part of the same plant, but every blossom, every human is a different blossom, and it looks different. It's supposed to look different. Right. Everything is valid. Everybody has a genuine, original style. If you can find what really excites you and find what you really love, that's the stuff that builds you as an original person. That stuff thrills me. So I gravitate towards something, things that are just a little bit different, a little bit crunchy, a little bit. I like inside voices. Voicings. Tight voicings. I like. Dissonance is kind of resolution for me. When you're by yourself and you're making your music by yourself, just for you and just for God, it's okay to be you, and it doesn't have to sound like anything else.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to make a living, there's always that too, right?
What's your opinion about social media and what's going on with the how music and musicians are being presented on social media, and what's your take on all that stuff?
And then Facebook came along, and I realized I am my own promoter. So I don't have an agent. I don't have a management. So it's up to me to try to get the word out, people to come to the gigs. So I started an artist page, and it was fantastic. I mean, word got out, and I'd post something, and there'd be like 300 people would answer. Be like, wow, okay, this is working, But over the past few years, it seems like it's changed. Maybe a lot of the audience is leaving Facebook for Instagram and TikTok, and now it's just the older cats that are doing Facebook. I keep it simple, It's like, hey, I'm playing this gig. Come on out; it'll be a good time.
So, do because a lot of people will post they'll post videos. You'll see these 1 minute of such and such, or do you have any opinion on that, or is that just like you don't even?
I think it's what it is, Like my bass player Taylor Lee, he'll post just a 30-second something of what he's practicing. And it's like, wow, that's amazing. I would never have known that if I didn't see it. There was a time when I was putting out my opinions, and boy, do you hear back from that?
Well, talk a little bit about your trio, man, with Mike Seal and Taylor. But talk a little bit about your band and
okay, yeah, we've been together 18 years. Taylor's the third bass player. Yeah. Neil Fountain played with us for a while.
Neil Fountain?
Yeah. Neil Fountain. Yeah. Sure enough did.
He said, cut your hair.
I tell him to grow some. Being a self-employed jazz drummer with no vocals, trying to get a trio off the ground is like 3 strikes against you right away. So it's been difficult. It's been really difficult, but occasionally we get a good gig, and anymore I'm not dragging them through the mud like I used to. They're older now, starting families, and they're in relationships, so I can't treat them the way I did when they were teenagers. We couldn't afford to get a hotel, so we had to hit up friends and people put us on their couch. Right. And we did that for quite a while. And then, so anymore now, we just do what makes sense. We get a good offer, and then we put a little route around it, and we're happy with 3 or 4 dates in a row. Right. I met Mike when he was 19 going on 20, and I had been invited by Chad Melton to go to Knoxville and play in a group called Primordial Soup. And the group was a live performance of a soundtrack of a movie. So they would play a movie and turn the sound off of it, and then the whole band would improvise the soundtrack.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun. Hi, Mike Seal. Nice to meet you. And then he started tuning his guitar and just touching the guitar and tuning it up. He hadn't even played a song yet. I just turned my head and was like, who is that? I mean,
wow.
He turned my head just tuning the guitar. And then he started playing some stuff, and I was like, wow, where'd you come from? I hit him up right away. I said, man, you want to do some dates? And he said, sure. Same thing with Taylor Lee. I met him when he was 19. It's like Matt Garrison on bass now. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Yeah, those guys, they are really highly intuitive. If I go somewhere, they're not afraid. They're not afraid to lead or to follow. And they always bring it, always bring 100%. And there's always blood on the floor after the gig, Like, we have a joke, like everybody can sweat on a gig, but we want blood on the floor after a gig. Wow. Go ahead and go for stuff, and if you don't make it, you tried,
Right.
Yeah. I went to see Sun Ra once, and there was a table full of yuppies. They had no idea what they were listening to, and they were just out on the town, and Sun Ra's playing, and they're yapping away. So John Gilmore and Marshall Allen, were sent by Sun Ra to the table with their saxophones, and they just started giving them everything they had, and eyes were popping open. It was like they ran out of the room. So they cleared the room of the people that didn't belong there. Also, I saw Bradford once at Yoshi's in California, and right after the first song, he talked to the table right nearest to him, and they were the same kind of just yuppies out on the town,
right,
talking over the band, talking over the music, and he was just like this, like, so this is jazz. This is jazz music. This is what it's about. He's just kind of almost lecturing them politely.
Right.
Like, here you are. Be here now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, I studied with his father, with Ellis Marsalis, but all of them are like philosophical about everything and will argue. And I remember Ellis was played on Wynton's record, Romance or something like that, New Volume or whatever. I can't remember the record, but it's a duo. And Ellis told me that him and Wynton argued 1 hour over a chord that Wynton put in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so finally Wynton said, "Dad, this is my album. I want this chord in it." And Ellis said, "Well, I'll play it, but I won't like it." So that's how Bradford, everybody thinks that Bradford is a cool guy. Bradford can be volatile in a second, bro. So there was a jam session that he was going to, and he just told the club owners one thing: do not mention that I'm there. It was like on a Tuesday night. Just don't. He's like, this is for the musicians. Don't do that. If it spreads by word of mouth through the musicians, that's fine. But don't put my name up on a moniker and stuff like that. So, it was great. The community started coming out just to be around him. And somebody at the club decided, man, we need to capitalize off of this. And the minute they put his picture up, he was getting ready to walk in and saw, tonight, Branford Marcel is coming. He left out of there, told the cats, I told y'all not to do this because now you guys are trying to make money and commercialize it. And the audience that I wanted was musicians to come in holistically, coming to learn. And
right.
I had to take my hat off to him for that, man. So,
No.
Tell me about your 4 Grammys.
Now, these are groups that I was involved with. They're not Jeff Sipe nominated.
Hey, you're on it.
Yeah. Well, Aquarium Rescue Unit for the live album was up for one. Leftover Salmon, a bluegrass band I played with, was up for one. Susan Tedeschi, I played with her for 4 years. Nice. She was up for 2. What else is there? There might be more than that, but those are the 4.
How do you form these relationships, Jeff? Like, and there's so many diverse groups you just mentioned right there. How do you form these relationships, and what do you attribute that to your success with these people?
I think any success that I've enjoyed along the way has come about from an excitement about the music and just really just wanting to be there, like we're all together, just being honest with each other, laughing, having a good time, playing music,
right?
And that has to be the first thing. So then I realized, okay, in a bluegrass world, the mandolin is the snare. He's keeping that backbeat, and the banjo is kind of like the ride cymbal, and because it has modern banjo players play 3-finger style, so they're playing in a 4/4 timing, but they're playing 3 notes and it's over the bar line feel. It's just naturally there. So I'm thinking, so the banjo is the ride cymbal, the mandolin is the snare drum, the bass is the bass, and if I can lock in with those cats like that, like the banjo's got my right hand, mandolin and my snare drum are one.
Oh wow!
Then it fits nicely, and I can still play bebop. They don't know it.
Oh wow! Man, your passion and excitement, man, is just it's contagious. I want to go practice right
Unbelievable,
now.
man.
But I mean, if you show up with a smile and you play the best you can play, that goes a long way.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Hey, look at Russ Rogers.
Yeah.
You were mentioned, Russ.
Hey, Russ. And thank you, gentlemen. It's been a really pleasure.
Brother, thank you.
Thank you.
Man. We'll let us know when you're in the area, man. We'll try to get some get a little thing when you guys come in town, man, and
Okay.
try to bring y'all on, come to the shows, try to get people out for you, help you out, man. We know how it is. So so any little thing that we can do to help you, man, just let us know.
Thank you so much. All right.
All right, Jeff. We'll take it easy, man. And we
Chris, Tyrone, thanks so much.
All right,
Peace out,
take
bro.
it easy, brother.
Thanks, man. All right.
Man,
that brother, man.
Can't get better.
Make me want to. No, make me want to. I'm about to go practice now.
You're about to run through a wall, bro. I'm about to I came in kind of static, but now, dude, I'm got steroids. I'm juicing, bro.